This is Nick.
This is Jack.
Welcome back. It is Monday, October 9th, and today's pod, it is the best one yet. It is a T-Boy, Jack.
Yetis will get right to it. Over the weekend, war shockingly and suddenly broke out in Israel.
Hamas, the militant group that governs the Gaza Strip, attacked Israel by land, by air, and by sea.
Those armed militants took hostages as they invaded southern Israel, and they killed hundreds of Israelis too.
Besties, just to give you a sense of how scary this was, hostages were even taken from a music festival.
Israel's prime minister is planning a retaliation, and the U.S. has pledged support, and we'll keep following the story as it unrolls.
Yetis, in the meantime, we're thinking of our Israeli listeners, and we're making today's pod the best one yet. It's a T-Boy. Jack, what's the first story for the show?
For our first story, the Michelin restaurant guide is expanding to reviewing hotels too.
Yetis, did you know that that's the tire company Michelin?
We have to share the wild story of Michelin, restaurants, tires, and marketing.
It's wild.
For our second story, we're looking at Exxon Mobil. They're about to make their biggest acquisition since Exxon acquired Mobil.
Besties, if Exxon were a country, it would be the fourth biggest oil country in the world.
And our third and final story is Instagram. They're now letting you chat with an AI assistant that looks and sounds exactly like Snoop Dogg.
Because Mark Zuckerberg paid Snoop $1 million to do it.
But Yetis, before we hit that fantastic mix of stories to kick off the week.
I mean, no one is beginning the week with this kind of mix of stories, Jack. I love the mix.
I'm flipping open the pages to Hoarder's Almanac, week 186.
Things we're running out of in the economy, Jack and I have been keeping track for you.
This week, we may have a shortage of sugar.
Yetis, a shortage of the sweet stuff.
In August, we got the warning.
Yeah, we did. Sugar just couldn't keep up with all our demand for sugar.
A summer sugar shortage was causing sugarflation, and it still is today.
Get this, last month, sugar prices popped another 9%.
According to the Federal Reserve, sugar prices globally have doubled since 2020.
It's a sugar high. Say it with me now, Jack.
Literally. Because the United States didn't produce enough sugarcane this year.
And apparently the Department of Agriculture limits how much sugar we can import.
Do less, Department of Agriculture. So, candy costs have been killing us.
We are too cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
But here's the real problem.
Yeah, Jack, could you sprinkle on the context?
Winter is coming.
Yetis, the fourth quarter is the candy quarter. Q4 is all about candy sales.
In October, it's trick-or-treating and candy corn.
In November, it's apple pies and pumpkin pies.
And in December, it's the four main food groups.
Candy, candy canes, candy corns, and syrup.
Oh, that PSL? It's got 50 grams of sugar in it.
Starbucks, that's 50 grams of added sugar.
Yetis, gummy bears are the real endangered species right now.
Almond Joys are anything but.
Don't you lay a finger on my Butterfinger.
Seriously, because we only have one Butterfinger.
Yeah, don't take it. It's the only one I have.
Yetis, hold on to your sugar, Jack. Let's hit our three stories.
Go!
15 years before this song, two boys from the Northeast met in the dorm. They had an idea that caused a cultural storm. It's the best one yet, but the best is the norm. Jack, Nick, that's it. I don't even think they need to practice. 50%, that's a fat tip. T-Boy City on your at-list. If you know, cause we ready to go. We can't wait no more, so just start the show. Start the show.
For our first story, Michelin, the famous restaurant guide, is now reviewing hotels too.
But this is the same Michelin that makes tires.
Yetis, the history of the Michelin Guide is one of the greatest marketing tales of the last century.
Michelin. It's a $21 billion publicly traded French rubber and tire company.
Yeah, besties, they're famous for their scary ghost logo guy. You know what we're talking about?
He's not that scary, actually. The Michelin Man, he kind of looks like the marshmallow villain from the first Ghostbusters movie.
He's actually a stack of tires that looks like it's been bleached.
He was inspired by a stack of tires.
That's scary if a stack of tires had a face, Jack.
But Yetis, the Michelin Tire Company is the same company behind the famous Michelin Restaurant Guide.
The Michelin Restaurant Guide, you may know it, the fancy restaurant rating system that is the definitive rating restaurant system.
If you're curious, there's only 143 restaurants in the world that have the coveted 3-star rating from Michelin.
And Jack, what's the average price at one of those 3-star restaurants?
$357 per person.
Yeah, these 3-star restaurants, we're talking 12-course mousse bouche caviar-infused meals with foam and a dress code.
If you have to ask, you can't afford it.
Is it pronounced flageolet? Get out of here. But Yetis, here's the news. Michelin, the tire company, is expanding Michelin, the restaurant guide, into hotels.
Instead of offering 3 stars to the best restaurants, they're going to offer 3 keys to the best hotels.
Now, Yetis, this is what Jack and I found fascinating about this story. We jumped in T-Boy style, and the 140-year history of how Michelin tires got into hospitality, it is wild.
Michelin invented the detachable tire back in 1891. That's how they made their mark on the world.
For bikes, for horse-drawn carriages, they invented they reinvented the wheel, basically, is what we're saying.
Yeah. They did. They did. And then when the car came along, the tire business started booming.
The Michelin brothers had a realization. More people are driving, so they could sell more tires.
And the more that people drive, the more tires they would sell.
But here's the problem. People didn't know where to drive.
Road trips were like a dangerous and scary adventure.
Get this, Yetis. Back when Michelin launched, there were only 3,000 cars in all of France.
So the Michelin brothers took the wheel to guide these new car drivers on where to go.
They created a small red guidebook for car trips to get you on the road.
It was called the Michelin Guide for the Open Road, but in French.
There was a map, some addresses of road trip staples. They basically told you where to go and how far it was.
For instance, stop here if you want a 1-star croque monsieur.
Or for instance, stop here if you want a 2-star station of gasoline.
But eventually, they went all in on restaurant reviews for that guide.
Because the Michelin brothers, they really went all in, didn't they, Jack?
They hired a team of undercover reviewers because they don't want the restaurant to prepare it extra fancy for Michelin.
Yeah, to this day, those undercover reviewers are reviewing 600 restaurants per year under a false identity.
It's like the CIA spies, but they're way better fed.
Way better than that cafeteria, Jack.
And here's a key. They didn't give away their restaurant guide for free because they didn't want it to seem like a tire promotional pamphlet or something.
It was a strategic move by the brothers of Michelin. They knew that if it seemed like a promotion, you wouldn't buy into the idea.
So the brothers Michelin, who had a tire company, began charging 7 francs for a restaurant guide to subtly get you to buy a car that has their tires on them.
It all comes full circle, Jack.
By the way, Michelin, Purple's Pleasure, the sandwich at Nooney's, the deli off of Route 7 in northern Vermont, go check it out. It deserves a star or 2.
If you're listening, Michelin, the pizza place A16 in the marina, let's give them a star too.
My guest suite in the basement deserves at least a half a key.
Loring Place in the West Village, let's give them one too. Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at Michelin?
After 100 years, the Michelin Guide is still one of the great marketing stories of business history.
Yetis, get this. The Michelin Guidebook is one of the best-selling books of all time. They are still selling 1 million Michelin guides every year.
In fact, Thailand's tourism board recently paid Michelin $4 million to come over to Thailand and review some of our restaurants.
Now, Yetis, we should point out, Michelin doesn't disclose all of its numbers, but sources indicate it loses money on the Michelin Guide.
Michelin spends an estimated $18 million just to pay for the meal tabs of their reviewers.
Those souffles, they ain't cheap, Jack.
But the data shows that when Michelin reviews a country's restaurants, tire sales in that country jump.
When Michelin's guide enters the country, Michelin tires see a 3% sales rise.
So the guide is marketing to sell the tires.
Jack, the Field of Dreams had it all wrong. If you review it, they will come.
If you review it, they will come.
Besties, 100 years later, that Michelin Guide is just as relevant as ever.
It's arguably better known than Michelin tires are.
100 years later, Michelin's Guide is still one of the great marketing stories of all time. For our second story, Exxon Mobil is about to make its biggest acquisition since Exxon acquired Mobil.
Yeah, because despite what Big Oil is saying publicly, Big Oil will always be Big Oil.
Now, Jack, we don't always do this. Actually, we never do this. But can we kick off the story by sprinkling a little context, please?
Apple wasn't always the most valuable company in the world.
Yeah, in the millennial era, it's been the most valuable company in the world, hasn't it, Jack?
But it wasn't until 2011, just before Steve Jobs passed away, that Apple became number 1.
And Jack, who was number 1 in America before Apple in 2011?
Before Apple, it was ExxonMobil.
Yeah, it is. For 7 years, 2004 to 2011, oil icon ExxonMobil reigned. It was the most valuable company in America.
That's right. Houston, Texas was home to ExxonMobil, which was the descendant company of John D. Rockefeller's Standard Oil Company.
Classic. And here's the news today. Big Oil is apparently about to get like a lot bigger. Not just bigger, a lot bigger.
Multiple sources reported on Friday that ExxonMobil was making a move to acquire its rival, Pioneer.
Now, Jack and I want to make this visual come to life, so we'll get to that in a second. In the meantime, Pioneer sucks 700,000 barrels of oil out of West Texas land every single day.
It sucks up 700,000 barrels of milkshake.
It drinks up that milkshake, Jack.
And if Exxon goes through with this acquisition, then this oil giant will produce 4.5 million barrels of oil every day.
Now, Bessies, like we just said, 4.5 million barrels. What does that really mean, Jack? Let's drop some visuals on this story.
Exxon would become a bigger oil producer than every single OPEC country except Saudi Arabia.
Geddies, get this. This would make ExxonMobil bigger than Iraq, bigger than Iran, bigger than the United Arab Emirates when it comes to oil output.
If this acquisition goes through, it would make ExxonMobil the fourth biggest country in terms of oil production.
ExxonMobil would be after the United States, Saudi Arabia, and Russia.
That's a whole lot of milkshake.
Oh, yeah. Now, Jack, we should point out that this would be pretty costly for ExxonMobil.
It would cost $60 billion to acquire Pioneer.
And $60 billion, Yetis, is 15 lifts. That's a lot of lifts.
You could buy one Pioneer or 15 lifts.
So what we're saying, Yetis, is that this $60 billion acquisition would be the biggest for ExxonMobil since Exxon bought Mobil in 1998.
Since the milk got shaked.
So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at ExxonMobil?
Big Oil is going bigger on oil. It is doubling down on the drill.
Yetis, funny thing Jack and I did. We jumped in T-Boy style to the front website page of ExxonMobil.com, and we noticed they bragged that they're accelerating society's path to net zero.
How are they doing that, Nick?
That's a good question, Jack. How are they doing that?
They say by investing in cleaner energies.
Well, they are doing that. Last year, ExxonMobil pledged to invest $17 billion over 5 years in low carbon and carbon capture. Good things for the earth.
But if this oil acquisition goes through, that would be 4 times a bigger investment than that green commitment Nick just mentioned.
Yeah, it is. The need for humankind to decarbonize is more clear than ever after that whole summer of natural disasters and hot heat we just had.
I think the thermometers are literally breaking, Nick.
Instead, ExxonMobil is dropping $60 billion suddenly to double down on what got us here.
Exxon loves marketing green to us, but it's also betting big on black.
For our third and final story, Meta just rolled out a cast of AI bots based on celebrities like Snoop Dogg.
Because when it comes to AI, fortune favors the huge.
Jack, you know that scene in the movie Richie Rich when we were growing up, when he invites all the kids over and he has a McDonald's in his house and they all enjoy the McDonald's?
Yeah. It's behind like the Mount Richmore, right? Like it's the Mount Rushmore, but with his face on it.
Basically what just happened to Mark Zuckerberg and the whole Meta team, right?
Meta paid a whole bunch of celebrities and influencers to come over to their headquarters in Menlo Park, California.
Yeah, both to physically come in and to virtually come in.
More on that in a second.
In the meantime, Eddie Zuck announced that he's still working on that metaverse. He's just cranking away at that thing every single day, you know?
On September 27th at this event, Zuck unveiled a new set of VR goggles to enter the virtual world.
He's also working on an in-between world, second-generation Ray-Ban sunglasses that are like augmented reality.
Both of these new tech eyewear that Zuck just unveiled focused on one big new feature.
And here's that one new feature. Hang out like a buddy with an AI assistant.
When you're wearing these pieces of headwear, you have an AI buddy right there with you.
But Yetis, here's the problem. You don't really have buddy-like feelings for an AI assistant, right?
I'm not buddies with Siri.
Alexa, she's great, but like we're not hanging out that much.
She's a utility.
ChatGPT, that's not even a real human name.
But Nick, what if those AI assistants looked, talked, and sounded all like real people?
Jack, what if they had a physical form? What if they were familiar?
That's what Meta just unveiled. Their new artificial intelligence can take 26 different human forms that you can choose from.
And they're based on celebrities straight out of TMZ.
And it's not just text or voice that these AIs will take the form of.
That is, AI has a physical form that you can digitally look at and like see its mouth moving and its ears wagging.
You can set your Meta AI buddy to look like Tom Brady or Snoop Dogg or Mr. Beast or Charlie D'Amelio.
It's basically a Bravo reality show, and Zuckerberg gets to be Andy Cohen.
There's 26 avatars you can choose to make your AI.
It's like having A-listers on your speed dial, and you can actually interact and talk to them, and they will continue the conversation.
Now, back to Nick's Richie Rich point. Zuck paid big to get these celebrities to participate in this deal.
Yeah, how much did he pay again, Jack?
According to the information, he paid up to $5 million per celebrity to come in and get filmed for 6 hours to create a virtual version of themselves.
Jack, Snoop doesn't show up in person and license his likeness to train an AI model without getting paid cash.
Right, Nick. Zuck's still paying to get friend requests.
Yetis, here's what this is going to look like. When you're typing on Meta's apps, this is what you're going to see.
You can ask your Charlie D'Amelio AI a question, and you'll see her type a response back to you.
Or if you're wearing Meta's Ray-Bans, you'll get a little more.
There's a speaker built in, so you can ask Snoop AI a question, and you'll hear Snoop answer.
Or if you want the ultimate experience, here's what you get if you wear Meta's virtual reality goggles.
There's a video screen in front of your eyeballs, so you can ask your Tom Brady AI a question, and it's like he's in the room answering your question for you.
Besties, Meta is turning AI into human-like companions that you see and you hear and could love.
You could love them because you're already a fan of them.
So, Jack, what's the takeaway for our buddies over at Menlo Park headquarters?
When it comes to AI, fortune favors the huge.
Yetis, historically, new technologies have been won by startups, the disruptors.
The ability to disrupt an existing industry requires no attachment to that status quo.
For example, Netflix won streaming, not Disney.
And Venmo won peer-to-peer mobile payments, not JP Morgan Chase.
And Tesla won electric cars, not General Motors.
But for AI, it's been way harder for startups to compete.
Because to scale artificial intelligence, you need enormous amounts of money for computing and for hiring and for marketing.
And Meta's massive AI event last week was a flex of exactly that.
And it's not just Meta. 3 of the biggest spenders on AI right now are 3 of the largest companies in America.
Microsoft, Google, and Meta.
Because unlike past emerging technologies, AI fortunes favor the huge. Jack, can you whip up the takeaways for us to kick off the week?
Michelin, the tire company, is adding hotels to its restaurant reviews.
Yeah, it is. The Michelin Guide is still one of the great marketing stories of all time.
For our second story, Exxon Mobil is planning to make its biggest acquisition since Exxon bought Mobil.
Its marketing has gone green, but its dollars have stayed black.
And our third and final story is Meta. It just had its big AI event, and its assistants can take the form of 26 real-life celebrities.
When it comes to AI, fortune favors the huge.
But Yetis, this pod's not over yet. Here's what else you need to know today.
First, Israel suffered a surprise attack from Hamas militants in the Gaza Strip.
Over 1,100 Israelis and Palestinians are believed to have been killed as of Sunday night.
And second, the jobs report came out Friday for September, shockingly way bigger than expected.
336,000 new jobs were added to the economy, and the unemployment rate dipped down to 3.7%.
And finally, Crocs just entered an entirely new footwear category, Crocs cowboy boots.
Yeah, the CEO calls this category of fashion dumb fashion. He literally calls it that.
Now, time for the best fact yet. This one whipped up by Jack and me because we found some wild stats when we did the research on Michelin. It was great.
The Michelin Guide doesn't just have a financial impact on the company, Michelin.
Michelin's guides also have an impact on entire economies.
If a restaurant is granted a 1-star review by Michelin, that's a huge deal, and it results in sales at that restaurant jumping by 20% on average.
If the restaurant gets 2 stars, they see sales jump 40%.
And if a restaurant gets the coveted 3-star Michelin review,
What do we get, Jack?
sales on average double for that restaurant.
100%. But that's not all, Yetis. That's not even the cool part.
Other restaurants located near the restaurants that get stars, they see their sales rise too.
Because more tourists are going to those Michelin star restaurants and they got to eat somewhere else because those meals are really expensive.
And there's no reservations at the places with the stars.
No, good luck on that one.
So a lot of disappointed tourists go and boost sales at the other restaurants.
We'll take you in. It's like the Statue of Liberty, Jack.
Oh, Pizzeria Sbarro, boosted sales, great.
Cha-ching, cha-ching. Now, Yetis, Jack and I should also point out one correction before we leave you today.
Last week, we were talking about the World Cup, and we included Qatar in a group of countries that have dictatorships.
Qatar is not a dictatorship. It's actually a constitutional monarchy. We grouped it with the dictatorships. We should have said non-democracy.
That was a mistake.
But Yetis, we're still pumped to be with you this week. Jack, you're looking fantastic. Yetis, you look fantastic. And if you haven't yet, you have got to go to our Instagram page at TBoyPod. It is so much fun right now, Jack.
Rachel of the T-Boy team is crushing the posts.
And Adam of the T-Boy team is whipping up insane videos.
If Slam and Sam were a sentient human being, or even an AI companion, he would double tap every post on our feed.
Yetis, you're going to love at TBoyPod. Jack and I will see you on Instagram, and we'll see you tomorrow. And before we go, a happy birthday to Yeti Angela Kay, who's celebrating with a pet corgi Katsu down in lovely Seattle.
Happy 24th birthday to Luis Flores in Los Angeles, California.
Ashka Patel, enjoy that birthday with some barbecue down in Austin, Texas.
Happy 60th birthday to beautiful Colleen Ferry Jones, celebrating in beautiful Sedona.
And a happy birthday to Izzy Rudolph, celebrating down the street with a fun party in San Francisco.
And happy birthday to Megan Bates, a longtime bestie over in Wadsworth, Ohio.
Wadsworth would be in Ohio, Jack. And Holly and Lauren Brinkman and all the Yetis who finished the Chicago Marathon this weekend, congratulations. You're doing great. Eat whatever you want. Get some cake.
And congratulations to Marina and Adam, who are living it up, became official members of Cake Bread Winery.
And Jesus Rubin, congratulations on being done with midterm exams down in Mexico.
Congratulations to Marcus Murillo and Alondra Selena Murillo, who are getting married in Aurora, Illinois.
And Susie Ozustowski just launched her website, thejetsweater.com, for you to find workouts while you're on vacation.
I might do it this weekend.
Jack, the best spin class I ever did was in Bogota, Colombia.
I'm sick and tired of crunches on the hotel floor.
I didn't even understand a single thing the instructor was saying.
Cat, cow, cat, cow, cat, cow. I need more than that.
Cow, cat, cow, cat.
This is Jack. I own stock of Disney and Netflix. You know, the more people drive, the more podcasts they listen to, too.